Okay, I'm ready to go.
Well.
Hello.
Hi, everybody. Lee,
Well,
Sherry.
You asked for it.
Yeah.
And here it is. And we brought people.
Yes.
That's what we did.
What we're going to talk about this evening is the Switch.
The Switch.
Which was actually a very viral post that actually was inside of the Twin Flame work group that we're all a part of. But at the same time, what we were talking about came out in episodes 3 and 4.
Of our journey.
Of our journey, but at the same time, all of us have actually had what is the Switch. We all have experienced it, more probably for the men in the group who have experienced it, of being able to just shut off the emotional side of, why are you walking away, and we don't even look back. So that's kind of what the Switch is, but the Switch actually comes in so many different forms. We wanted to make sure that we did a video, but we wanted to make sure that we had the input of all of the twins.
Well, not all of them.
Well, our soul family.
That's a whole lot of them.
Well, they are. Right. But we wanted our soul family to be a part of that, so we do have. Speak up, and you should.
Trevor and Eileen.
Trevor and Eileen. Hi.
And we have Alan and Sandra.
Hi.
I'm your Huckleberry.
Yes, this is an episode of Tombstone, because that's exactly what the Switch gives you.
Oh, God, the buttons again, really?
Okay, so we'll start this off because this was kind of a very. It was pretty much on point with what we wanted to make sure that everybody understood about the Switch. During a time when I was married, living with somebody, was talking to multiple people, I had to have a way of turning off the emotion for each person. And it's something that I learned from, actually, if I take it all the way back, from my father not being a part of my life. I understood that if he could cut off his emotions to me and abandon me, it almost gave me permission to be able to do that in anything that I would do. So if I was not focused in something or someone and I wasn't getting a result, I would be able to just turn and go the other way. It's inherited. We don't actually all just create a switch and inhabit. There is something that happens to you somewhere in the soul or somewhere before it even comes to the soul that the ego comes in and allows you to just disassociate with whatever it is. You can have deep love and turn it off just like that.
We were able to do that when I couldn't even tell you what episode it. I couldn't even tell you what episode it is. That when we had our separation, our last separation, and we were both seeing other people. We both had the switch.
Yeah.
And we both used it.
Yeah, it's like an activation of being able to just go, okay, if I don't go this way, I know where I'm going to end up. But it's almost like you can just let go of the emotional energy. It doesn't mean that you're not
connected.
It just means that you now can disassociate yourself in here.
Right.
And it's always in here. The switch is something that has happened to you that's been detrimental to who you are, what you've become, and how you communicate, interact, even give emotional energy or love to anybody. You can just cut it off. And what most people can do with this is, it has great uses. Donald Trump has it. Greed.
You can't judge Donald Trump.
I'm not going to say it. Fuck Donald Trump. But I didn't say it. But anyway,
you can't say
what I'm
that.
saying is
I can't edit these.
Well, some people.
Oh, there's a switch right there.
Well, the thing is
I'm going to go get a switch off the tree. That's what I'm going to do.
Don't clap for me. She keeps this up the more you guys participate.
Yeah, switch things in the next class.
Yeah, we think that can happen. Because it's just like, well, the reason I mentioned Donald Trump is because I think about how he, even when he had celebrities coming, or when he had people who were coming in to apply for his company, he needed to be able to not emotionally look at them and just say, you're fired. That's pretty much what this switch enables you to do. It literally will help you disassociate with whatever it is and walk away. Again, this is something that you're generationally taught from something that's happened to you. And when you're able to walk away, you walk away from, it's almost like shutting off a light in a room and shutting the door and just keep on going. And it's really interesting because you look at all of the men on this planet, or women, who are enabled to be able to cheat on their partner. They have access to a switch. In other words, what happens is if, let's say you even have an emotional affair, something in you is realizing that what you're not getting, you flip that switch and you go find it. And it's a very powerful thing. And it's not something that is something you want to have. You have to learn where it comes from to be able to disable it. Anybody got anything on that?
I kind of totally agree with what you're talking about. Yeah, very, very much. And for me, it was a self-defense mechanism. Growing up, I didn't think I had a bad relationship with my father. You were talking about not having one. But, oh my God, he was impatient. He was so impatient. And I learned through many years of if I didn't get something like within the first try or the second try, having to deal with that reprimanding or the attitude that would come from my dad, I would just learn to either do it and do it well or not do it at all. And I could just shut it down immediately. The way that transferred over into my life, and Sandra and I talked about this in our second video on Twin Flame Divine Fire. When I got hurt so badly by the one that I was so in love with, that transferred from my dad to that situation so easily because I got hurt just the way my dad would hurt me because he didn't understand that I wasn't capable necessarily, depending on what it was, of picking something up just like that. And it was something that I wouldn't even care to learn or didn't want to learn. That's not where my interest lied, but he wanted my interest to lie there. And when that occurrence happened to me, I learned that switch, and I learned it as a self-defense mechanism. And there were certain other things that came up through my life to where I developed that even more. And it became almost sociopathic on my part, the way that I could just turn it on and turn it off and go on to something that suited me better. And it was easy for me. And I could justify it too, because my thought was, I'm going to do it to you before you do it to me, because I know damn good and well you're going to do it to me. And since I didn't know really who or what I was, it never occurred to me that it wasn't them, it was me. But I learned that switch, I developed it well, and I didn't have any problem using it. And I carried that for a long time.
Alan, did it show up in your relationships?
Hugely. Oh my God. Oh yeah. Yeah, anytime a situation would get uncomfortable to where I didn't want to deal with it, to where I didn't want to deal with that job that my dad wanted me to do, you know what I mean? It was just like, okay, we're here, and then all of a sudden, okay, I guess I'm done with you. I'll talk to you later, and I was off and running. Gone. Not just physically, but emotionally as well. And what's scary is that it was so easy to shut down and turn back off. It was simple.
Do you still have it?
I have it in one area of my life, and I'm really working on that. And as far as Sandra and I today, and I don't know, she can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't use that switch anymore. If something is bothering me, I'll tell her. If something annoys me to the point that it's going to be a problem I feel, because we all have those little things that bug each other, but, sometimes you're just like, well, that's the way they are, that's the way, things go. The thing I have the hardest problem with at this point in my time is not being able to keep from turning that switch on when I'm hurting. I mean, when I have something that is deeply rooted in me that is bothering me, and I mean, it's just killing me, it's hard for me to keep from flipping that switch to let her know, man, woman, it doesn't matter. It's hard for me to let her see me hurt because I'm not used to showing that. Where I used to do my running around, you better not show that, and that to me, I believe anyway, is my last switch that I'm working on. The others I think I've got a handle on, but that one is just so hard to let her see me that vulnerable and that hurting, because I always feel like I should be there for her. I should be the strong one, that I shouldn't, and I know that I shouldn't feel that way, but that to me is the hardest one to let go.
And we've both done the switch really well.
One of the things that I can add to that, Alan, is I struggled with that switch probably 2 years ago. The one that I didn't want, because I upheld a certain strength, and I upheld a certain way of being for providing, and I upheld a switch of that I've got to do it this way, and I've got to put this mask on, and I've got to go do it.
Yeah.
What I didn't understand about doing that is that was preventing me from loving her deeper, because she could be there for me to help me through those times when that switch became activated. Yeah. And it was a struggle. And I told her, because I'd been so, I was raised in such a way that I knew that I needed to be able to do those things. And that switch was almost activated instantly.
Yeah.
But then all the other switches, then I started utilizing that I could use the switch for different things. But when I finally broke down and just said, I'm really struggling to let this go, because I know that, I need to go out and do this, and I need to go do that. And she just said, why don't we do it together? And when that hit me, it was almost like that switch disintegrated all on its own. Yeah. So sometimes it may be that you need to ask her for help, or tell her what you're going through, for her to just say that to you, for that switch to be dissolved. Yeah, because we want to hold up that mask and keep it hidden, we don't accept, what we're saying really is that, don't embrace me for that. I want to keep this because I need it. But what you don't understand about it is that if she says that, you know how strong it becomes? Yeah. How strong you both become together. I mean, it's almost like you expand what love is. You expand and find a new space to be able to share together in one thing that changes the dynamic and embraces a broader way of loving each other.
That's a very good point. I never considered it that way. I really didn't. And there again, I don't know if it was just that ego still kind of hanging around and doing its thing, but yeah, I never considered that, and I never considered that I was actually stunting us. I never did.
It's not, I would say you're not stunting us. What you're doing is you're having that person sit behind, like Trevor was with the hat and the glasses, kind of hiding back there, trying to be this.
Yeah.
In all actuality, you're being this, and you're preventing part of you from really experiencing being embraced for feeling that way.
Yeah.
for wanting to be that way. Because you don't have the switch in place because you don't feel. You have it as a place where you keep trying to fill an emptiness that's already in you. And when you allow somebody else or tell somebody else what's going on in there, especially your twin, when Sand hears that, she looks at you and she says, "You really, she almost wants to just grab you and kiss you and probably do other things, but I'm not going that path. What I'm saying is she probably goes, wow, you really, really trust me. You really, really love me, and you're allowing me to see this in you. And I'm going to embrace you in it because I understand that you've hid it because you didn't think you could be embraced for it. You thought you were weak. Where actually hiding it made you weak, sharing it made you strong."
Here's what I hope. I really hope that Eileen has a switch that she can switch when Trevor goes on his little shenanigans. I'm hoping. Eileen, please tell us about your switch.
Yeah,
Let's all pray that she has one.
We start humming.
No.
I'm a little different because I've always been this really kind of peaceful person, and Trevor can attest. You know, I don't get angry. I don't get upset. I never have, and you know, if I do, it's I don't know, how would you explain my...
I don't know. But I worked really hard at it until I finally got her to go like this. I mean,
know you do.
quite a bit.
But I will say that, you know, even when I do have times and moments of having to switch from one way of thinking and mindset to another, to bring me to a more level place or a calm peace of mind, I voice my opinion. You know, I have a voice in speaking my truth. And I think for women especially, we have a lot of fears of losing the person that's with us if we challenge them, especially the male, in what they're saying. At least that's my I can see the darkness. I think at least that's my perspective as a female, that if I were to challenge Trevor in something that he was saying by saying something different, then he may get angry at me, or he may not like me. He's putting a hat on again. So my switch would be to ensure myself. Oh, there's Sam. See, she's your twin. Ensure for myself that it's okay for me to have a voice, that it's okay for me to speak up, to share my feelings, to share my thoughts. And Trevor and I have had some opportunities lately to really practice that, and it's worked pretty well for us, actually.
It does. The only thing is and not everybody's the same. And I live with her. She doesn't have a switch. I tried. There's been a few times I wanted to turn it off, but she just doesn't. She doesn't have one. There's whatever she's thinking, it's readily available. There's no isn't being. It's she quiet. I'll be waiting for them to bring it out. But the minute you say, "Well, what are you thinking?" It's there. I mean, there's no. She didn't have a switch. For me, the switch is different. I understood the switch when I was pretty young, and And it's something actually I use to the good now. But the switch is really what I think, Alan, you and Lee probably agree with this. I used to change girlfriends a lot when I was young. How you did that and emotionally were okay. Because sometimes you dropped one you kind of liked, but there was maybe a little nicer one. You know, how you flipped that switch is you changed what you were thinking and what your thinking was focused on. So now, if you know, God forbid that nice girlfriend got upset with you and said, "That's it, we're done," then how do you flip the switch? You refocus your thoughts. Look for immediately, you know, the available female, and focus all your thoughts on her. That's how you flip the switch. You changed what you were thinking about. For other ways, if that's not, you know, the way that you choose to do it, for men again, they'll flip that switch and put it into something of interest. They'll put it into their work. So they'll refocus into something at their work, or they'll refocus into a hobby and they'll lock down on that. Men kind of teach each other, oh, you got to get your mind off of it and go do something else, and they'll take the guy out. But the key is refocusing what you're thinking about. Now, we do that involuntarily when we don't know how it works. We just go, oh, well, I'm going to go do something else. And you go. You don't really realize that you're flipping the switch. Yeah. Now, how does it apply to nowadays life? There's many. If you're thinking about something that makes you feel negative, it's not really for your good to feel that way. It means your thinking is not going in the direction you want. So what do? You refocus your thinking, the emotion changes. It's a little bit different than flipping the switch on something that's painful. But it works to the good too.
I kid you not, this man never seen me cry until we came back together this time. No. I have a man switch.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, that didn't take long. Oh yeah.
No, she's got a man switch we would be proud of, fellas. You know what I mean? I mean,
you know what?
She is good.
Back in the day, this man broke my heart. I flipped a switch, bought him a bus ticket, and said, "Hit the road, Jack, and don't come back."
Oh, I thought that was classic.
That's a good switch you got going there.
Hey, you know what? These women that have grown up, and I'm going to bring this subject up, and maybe somebody can back me. If you've grown up in a situation where you're in any kind of abuse at all, you learn your environment. And you got a really good switch.
Yeah, you do.
I would add something else though. You don't just get the switch and there are no repercussions.
Oh no.
That's not true at all. I could tell you that I would grit my teeth, not sleep, have horrible dreams. I mean, it does come out in some way. Mm-hmm. Even in our actions, or even in our performance, or even in it does grow on you. The more you use the switch, the more it pains you, because what you're really showing is you're hiding a different part of yourself inside that suffers from it. Yeah. Remember, the switch is activated. The switch is activated through a sequence of thought processes. Being able to change it and go a different direction doesn't mean that the emotional body that has been attacked by the thought process that made you switch and go someplace else, it lies dormant, but it's not gone. And I would tell you, I know I had plenty of nights where I didn't sleep, nights where I grit my teeth, or bit my tongue, or couldn't sleep, or was up every 2 hours, or up every hour. Because those things are the things that drive us nuts. Because once you have an activated mind by using the switch, when you lay down in bed at night, all of those things come back, and your mind runs 2,000 miles an hour, and you're sick You're sick because you want to just shut it off.
It's like,
Amen.
and I wanted to touch on the whole twin flame dynamic. When twins, once you are connected, the switch doesn't mean that you're no longer connected. It just means that, especially in Lee and I's case, that there was just so much human activity happening that we wasn't realizing we were just in the place that it was just too much. So the switch happened, and that doesn't mean that I didn't feel him at all. As a matter of fact, I probably felt him more when I flipped my switch than I had before. I probably felt you more. And then when I had that alone time at night is when I had that, I just can't be not connected. I just can't not feel him.
It's funny because
And
people go,
it gets frustrating.
yeah, oh, we can disconnect from our twins. We can shut stuff off. That's a thought process. I don't know who told you that, but that shit is not real.
Can't say shit.
Okay. It's not real.
I have something to add.
Yeah, go ahead, Eileen.
A thought that's coming to my mind that's sort of intertwined with the switch turning on and off, and what Lee's been saying about the effects of it, of the not being able to sleep, the nightmares, the mind running. It's something what I like to call the loop. So the mind, it's almost like this circle and this cycle. So the mind gets into this loop, and the switch is the ego mind and the heart mind that's trying to keep that loop from continuing in its process. And so when you're talking, Lee, about the inability to sleep and the nightmares, and when you finally lie in bed and all of a sudden you've got 1,000 miles a minute of the mind moving, you're still in that loop, and then it's a matter of using that switch capability to turn off so you can sleep. But then you still have the issue of it can come while you're sleeping in the form of nightmares, or waking you up at 3 o'clock in the morning, which is the witching hour, and the hour when everything's quiet, and so then everything's louder when you wake up, right?
Yeah.
So then it's looking at, well, how do you get out of the mind loop? How do you switch that switch to get you out of that mind loop so that the thinking and the emotion, actually you step off that wheel, the
Hamster.
the hamster wheel, and redirect, as Trevor was saying earlier, redirect the thinking, and then the switching. It sounds like, Alan, you like managed to, I guess what you're saying is eliminate the switching, but you've got one area that still triggers that need to use the switch.
Yeah.
So for the people who are watching this, maybe it's to think about what's the loop, what's the emotion, feeling behind whatever is causing you to feel like you have to switch out of that. Because I think, Lee, you said earlier that it's not really gone. The switch just kind of shifts you from one state to another. So which leaves the door open for that loop to continue. Make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
And for me, dismantling it was coming clean with it, telling her the truth. And then I found out that when I went to sleep at night, I slept. I could close my eyes and be right to sleep. There was no activity in the brain that was keeping me going. See, the switch is embedded in such a way that certain things, whether it be financial, whether it be emotional, whether it doesn't matter what it is. If it's keeping you up at night, it's because you had set off a switch sometime during the day and it kept you up at night. It's almost like we find ways to not be in the present moment because of the switch. The switch is always tied to a story. Always. There's not one switch that could be out there that's not tied to a story that either you've been through, that you've told yourself, that you've endured, that you've embraced. that you just didn't resolve and didn't share with anybody. You keep it hidden.
And there's an emotion attached to it. Right. And
there's a lot of emotions attached to it.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Yeah, and I think fears as well. A lot of fear of stepping out of that story to create a new story, because a lot of people, they think to themselves, well, who am I without that story? Even though it's painful, even though it keeps them in the loop. And I think in relation to the twin flame, a lot of people are in this loop. You know, they keep telling the same story and the same experience, and it's keeping them building and compiling and raising that level of intensity of what is already in that story, rather than stepping back and flipping the switch in a way that they can create the new story that would be a good feeling, good emotion, make you feel good. So, Alan, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So, with your challenge that you have for yourself in the switch that you're working on, if you were to think about, the story, what would it be? What would you tell yourself? How would you explain how you could get yourself out of it and switch the switch?
Well, I think one of the things, because here again, and something that Lee touched on in their last video really resonated with me. Number one, that I saw it again, somebody else reposted a snippet of what Lee said in his video, coupled with what he said tonight, really hits well. Be humble, and basically, and I'm going to paraphrase what he said, but be teachable at the same time. Be teachable, always. And coupled with what he said there and what he said tonight about letting that go, letting the vulnerability be out there, is going to make the bond stronger. I never looked at it that way before. I'm going to school tonight. With whoever else is watching this video, I'm going to school tonight. And I have no problem saying that at all. The day that I can't be taught something, that's when they're going to put me 6 feet under, toes up, or burn me or whatever. But no, I just never looked at it that way before. And I have to tell you, I think a lot of strides, considering our situation at the moment, which I'm not going to get into, but we basically have been forced into just absolutely sharing everything. And I mean everything. Every feeling, every doubt, every fear, every moment of anger, every moment of wanting to run away and hide. And I know the way that I used to hide wasn't good. It was not good at all. And whereas our current situation isn't the best in the world, it has really been a blessing in that regard, because it has brought us closer, because it's made us realize that we have to shut off those switches. And I mean, I've gone through it more, I'd say, in the last couple of weeks than I have in the last couple of years plus, as far as saying, you know what, I'm not the freaking macho man I thought I was. I can't keep doing this, because if I do, my whole body is just going to shut down. And whereas we thought that we were being really open and honest, and we have been, always more work to do, just like owning a house. Doesn't matter how nice it looks on the outside, sometimes that foundation needs a little tuck pointing, you know what I mean? And you're just going to have to get down there, get dirty, get sweaty, and get the crap done. So it's been bad, but in the long run, it's been good, and I can see where this is really going to pay off huge down the road, and just now, even just now, it's going to pay off really big. So there again, if we can't say that we've gone through it, that we've done it, we know how you feel. We know what the switch is. We've played it over and over and over 20,000 times 20,000, but we learned how to get over it. Now we got something to talk about. You know, before we were just talking out our rear ends. Now we got something to talk about. And I know there's more work to do, and I'm cool with that today. Can't say that I would have said that not too long ago, but today it's cool. So, you know, baby steps sometimes, but there's steps in the right direction.
Understood.
Alan, you're in detention.
I've only been in that loop one time.
But this is not the YMCA.
Yeah.
There's no village people in here. Macho is a word we don't use.
He said you're in detention for saying macho. But I think we should let Trevor say.
I want to add something, but I want Trevor to go ahead.
Right. I would just I was thinking about. I've been in that loop one time where you switch flip the switch during the day when you're at work because you got a job to do, and you've got, in my case, I was a supervisor, so I had to keep other people up and moving, and attitude's good and things like that. And I could do it, you know, pretty much. I mean, there was times during the day, but pretty much during the day. And then the biggest issue again was when I was trying to sleep. And 3 o'clock in the morning, always woke up at 3, and it was all right there. Yeah. And I've only been there once. I haven't been there again. Thank God I have Eileen, because there's no reason, nothing keeps me away from the phone. But that was brutal. The other part was pertaining to how we don't resolve stuff. In other words, we don't make a decision. So getting in that loop, we stay in that loop because we're in a place we're not happy, our thinking isn't going right, the responses we're getting from maybe the other person or other persons isn't, you know, what we want, and we don't make a decision. And we don't accept ourselves for who we are in the middle of that. And we don't accept the other people for who they are in the middle of that, and we keep trying to figure it out, we keep trying to fight it, keep pushing against it, and as long as we're pushing against it, it's not going to get resolved, and we're going to be in that loop, and we're going to keep trying to outthink it, keep trying to control it, and it just doesn't work. And then we get to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and start thinking about it again.
Yeah.
As far as what Alan was talking about, we all have something, you know. In our case, it's me. Eileen, she's like an angel. You know, she doesn't have any areas that she tries to keep to herself. I'm the one that I keep this one area. I'm used to working entirely creatively in the things that I make, things that I write. I'm used to doing that all myself because I've never had a partner that's gifted and as talented as she is. So I'm not used to working together with another person that's just as intelligent, just as creative, just as good at making decisions. So I'm having to adjust. You know, if I'm going to flip a switch, is to flip that switch wide open so that she can, you know, work with me like this in the things that we're doing. And I've been kind of letting go of it a little bit at a time because I realized, and I'm kind of hoarding it because I'm used to that. You know. And she's incredible. When she does stuff on her own, it's absolutely amazing. And when I do stuff on my own, it can be amazing too. So when we get to the point where we can do it together, it ought to be very amazing. But she's the one that really wants to do everything together. I'm the one that's going, wait a minute, I got to do this myself.
Start by building a birdhouse. If you can do that,
they built that boat.
Then move on. Oh, they did build a boat.
Yeah.
That boat is off the chain.
Oh.
The only thing I would
built
add.
That boat. That's amazing.
I want to add something that I learned from my teacher, and And what she said to me changed everything that's what's before you now. And my teacher was talking about where home was. And she was talking about that when she got to that home, that when she got there, she started to go down to the rooms, and she would go there and she would try to open it up, and it was locked. And this is my teacher, by the way. We are home. If the person you want to be with is home and they have switches, there are certain doors that are locked on the inside of them in the rooms that they have on the inside of them, and on the inside of there is the child screaming, saying, I can't be accepted for what's behind this door. That's the truth about the switch. It was taught. And when it becomes something that you can utilize for good or bad, there is something in there that really triggers a negative energy that closes a door for it to walk away. And I swear, if she would have not had told me it in such that way, I don't know that I necessarily would be sitting here before you now, or we would be in our union. And I realized I needed to do some house cleaning. And during that house cleaning, man, I went through some stuff. I mean, we all do. We all go through that stuff when we realize that that switch is there. And why am I still keeping this switch up in here or over here or up in here? Or, you know, because you get a certain pain. You know, it causes disease, it causes pain, it causes all kinds of things. When you have to hold everything on the inside because you're unhappy or you're not experiencing the things that you want to experience, that switch can be activated. But you pay for it. You pay for it every time.
Yeah.
So, we do have questions,
Uh-oh.
but I think probably just a few, because I think we got about, what, 10 minutes?
Yeah.
9 minutes?
We won't keep them forever.
Yeah. So, the first one, of course, you know, this whole thing came about for the Switch was, okay, I'm not going to say anybody's names. Yeah, I could flip the switch and say their
Well, we
names,
don't
though.
have
I really
written
don't.
permission. If we
Right.
had written permission, it'd be different.
This one came from somebody in our group, and it said, the way I see it is that the switches when, for instance, an aspect of one flame turns on and the aspect of the other flame turns off, as both are an integrative part of the same soul, but in two different bodies. Or the switch can also be seen as the ability for one soul to turn on or turn off a quality about themselves by their own choice to do so. Yes and no. Yes, because the ego is keeping the soul protected. So it's almost like the ego can come out and go, this isn't what you expected it to be. A good example of this would be that for people who aren't familiar with the twin flame dynamic, or even, you know, maybe have a little bit of knowledge about soulmate, and you're in your body and you say to them, or you're saying inside yourself, that's my twin flame, and then you want to tell them that. There is a switch in you that you turn off and you don't tell them. That switch happens and that's okay. But the thing is not speaking in such a way where you're still exerting what or letting what's in you come out is where the switch has happened. Because now you're holding them responsible for something they don't know what's going on inside you, because now your energy is different. Yes, the switch
That happens.
is in thinking, and thinking is energy, and it shows up. Whether you like it or not, it does. I think it also, from the turn-off standpoint, it shows up.
Yeah, I mean, really, if you want to get really simple with it, if you're sitting with somebody and you're having a conversation and you completely disagree with them, and you really want to tell them that they're not saying things correctly, and you really just want to lay into them, and there's that switch that's like, I'm good. I'm not going to say anything.
Uh-oh.
I'm just gonna let him be. I do that all the time. I have that switch. How did it? I don't have it with you. I have one switch with him. One switch is when.
See how the switch just worked just now? You guys just saw it. Everybody saw it.
It's on video.
Here's the actual switch. No, I'm just kidding. No, but when he does something that just annoys me, or we're having what I call intense fellowship. You know.
There we go.
I am able to flip a switch and listen to him and feel like this.
I need help.
Are you throwing up gang signs?
Help. Help.
I am able to shut myself down, turn myself off, and just look at him like this.
Uh-oh.
But she knows she knows what words to use to flip the switch back up to.
Well, it's actually not true. You know what words to say, or you know what action to do to flip my switch back. Because if if I'm sitting on the couch and I'm like, he'll just turn on music and pull me up to dance with me, and then what am I gonna do?
Surrender.
Switch flip. Switch flip.
Oh, like Trevor, Alan,
What?
back here. We know that sometimes when they become activated, the best thing to do is hold them and listen to them, and just, even if we don't say anything, they know what we're saying.
Exactly, and in fact, you listen, and then you ask when they hesitate, is there anything else?
Whoa, you're brave, dude.
He has no switch. He has none. He just
We don't ask that question here. That's not good.
What?
Oh!
That question would activate my switch.
High five, Sherry. High five.
That question right there would activate my switch, and it would put me back in this mode.
Sherry, I give you permission in September to do whatever you want.
like where your head's at, Eileen. I like where your head's at.
Oh,
Anybody got anything to add
so
to that
many
one?
switches.
Does anybody have anything to the on and the off to the soul?
Are you asking, is there anything else? Is that what?
That
Are you doing that?
right there. That right there is when you have activated his switch, Alan. Right there.
No, I wanted to make sure because we have more questions to read. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. No, I just thought you wanted to be held or something, or you know. Just asking.
You can't get us together.
No.
Okay, next question.
We'd get kicked off the stage.
I can't believe we're not going to be kicked off the Hangout, the language we're using.
They're not going to have us anywhere.
Okay, this one is for Sandra and Alan.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Way to throw them under the bus.
Oh. Okay, this one is for Eileen and Trevor.
Oh, there it is.
Thank you. She's not done laughing.
They're used to us throwing them under the bus.
As I understand it, the switch is when you shut down and turn everything off. I did, however, find for myself I came up with a different way I use or think of the switch. Issue is, I can't remember the wonderful insight I had weeks ago. Tonight I just feel like shutting down, using that switch. Cried for the first time probably in weeks. So it sounds like what she's saying is that she used the switch to shut off and get through, but then there was a point where she realized that that it had to come out. She started crying.
Is there a question?
Yeah, that's a question.
No,
that,
I don't think there's a question.
I'm going to
that
take
really sounds like
Why don't you take
sounds like she came to a point of just
If you have any more
Hold on.
questions. Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, there is one.
One more.
Think about how fast we turn around when we see someone hurting and we can't help them. There is a switch involved. There there is a switch involved there. Is that not a fact?
Yes, yes. I think that's true for a lot of people right now on all of our Facebook pages, where one is trying to help the other, and the other one is either turning the other direction or resisting. And so the person that's trying to help is having to use the switch, so to speak, because there comes a point where you're exhausted because you can see in the other person where they need help, and they're trying to help, but unless the other person is asking for it, they're going to be very difficult to receive whatever's being given. So the person who's giving is having to use that switch probably a lot to turn it on and off, and so there's a lot of underlying and hidden emotions that haven't been resolved or not being worked on, because they're probably holding out hope that, okay, well, if I just do a little bit of this, then maybe they'll come around and they'll come back to me. Or if and then they'll approach them again and trying to help, and they get slapped in the face, so then the switch turns off, and then eventually they're like, well, let me try again, because there's such a desire to be with the other person, and it's difficult to turn away from that desire. So what a lot of people are struggling with is, how do you fight the heart? How do you work with that heart and that pull from the heart, while the ego wants to be in control and wants to bring this other person into your life, if the other person either isn't there or is resisting or has gone the other direction. And it's a struggle for the person that's left behind, because now, someone mentioned earlier, it might have been you, Lee, about fulfilling the space. Now there's this emptiness, and there's this constant feeling of needing to reach out to pull something back in. And part of, I think, fulfilling that is really looking at, well, what's causing you to switch on and off? What's causing you to feel that emptiness? If that other person was in your life, would you feel that way? Why? With that other person not in your life, what are you feeling and why? And then look at those to see, like the woman before the question or the statement that you read, she was able to resolve whatever she needed to, so she didn't have to do the switch. So for people who are having to do this consistent switching on and off, it's exhausting. It's tiring. It keeps you up at night, and people are getting worn out, and they're just like throwing their hands up and saying, I've had enough of this. This is crazy. My world's turned upside down, and I can't do this anymore. So, it's looking at the cause and then finding a way to come out of it.
A real quick answer to the general part of that question. What I've personally found is you really can't, even though you see need all around you, you can't fix everything for everybody. You can't solve everybody's issues. The position that works for me is detached compassion. So continue to have compassion for people, but unless somebody specifically addresses you that they need help, they want help, and that they're ready to take action, you can't. You do actually have to be able to flip that switch, redirect your thinking, and move on. If you don't, you're going to get drugged down into everybody's stuff, and you just can't go there.
Agreed. Trevor and Eileen, if somebody were watching and they really would like to get a hold of you, how can they get a hold of you?
They can find us on Twin Flames on Facebook. They can find us on Ordinary to Extraordinary Life on Facebook. And our closed group is I Need to Vent, which is all caps. And I have a...
full of switches in that room.
It's growing fast.
Growing, yeah. So if you need to get
There's some switches in there.
it's awesome. And then I have a website.
We have a special guest. Sherry's going to be in there next week.
Yes, she is. Oh, she'll probably be in there tomorrow.
Apparently.
Tonight, she'll be there tomorrow, right? Right, Sherry? And then I have a
Tonight while you're messing around.
I have a website, www.eileenbuild.com, and our website together is in the process.
Yay. Alan, Sandra, if somebody were looking for you, where could they find you?
Okay, well, you can find us on Facebook at Twin Flame Divine Fire. Also, Sandra Allen, and just about ready to totally get up and running a website. I'm not even going to give you the address right now because I don't even know it. I mean, it's just so crazy right now. Until we get an actual domain name, we're going to get you there eventually. What do you want from me? Anyway. But anyway, we do have a website that we're going to get going up, and we've got a YouTube channel, Twin Flame Divine Fire. You know, got a couple of videos and an introduction. And you can also go to AJKKFM. I'm going to, go ahead and put that out there right now. Yeah, there it is. Kind of, sort of. Anyway, that's how you can get a hold of us.
Is that your uniform? Is that your work uniform?
Yeah.
That ponytail
today. Yeah.
Yep. Thank you guys for watching. And if you have any more questions about the Switch, ask us in our group or send us an email. We are Lee and Sherry I'm Sherry, he's Lee.
That's right, Wilma.
Yeah.
Yabbadabadoo.com.
With Relationship Reinvented. .com, Relationship Reinvented, and twinflames.me. And you can find us on Facebook at Relationship Reinvented.
Trevor, you're my hero.
Have a good evening, you guys.
Hey, play Devil Goes Down to Georgia, would you?
We really do appreciate you all coming tonight. Again, the Switch is in everybody. It's in everything. So we hope this answered a lot of your questions. And if not, we're going to post this in each group, and you can just ask the questions down below or in each group, and we'll be able to answer any questions you guys have. Thank you guys coming tonight. We love you all. We all love you. And we love you, our soul family.
Bye.
Love you guys.
Me too.